moving the needle.
All right, welcome to Fuel Curve. I am Brandon Flannery, the host, and today my guest is Charles Handler of international TV fame, the Big Easy Motors. Wasn't that the name of your show, Big Easy Motors?
Yes, sir, it was.
Down there in New Orleans, Louisiana.
Yep.
How is the car scene down there in New Orleans? I figure you got a lot of retirees and stuff. Pretty decent. They got the Cruising the Coast thing down there.
Oh, yeah. I tell you what, I moved back here. I'd lived here before, and I moved back from the Bay Area in California, and I was really kind of bummed out that, the car scene is so great out there. I went to the Good Guys meets and the Oakland Roadster Show, Grand National Roadster Show, all kind of awesome stuff. And, there wasn't much here really when I came back in 2002. But since then, it's really exploded. We have all kind of good stuff going on. Cruising the Coast, obviously, is a huge highlight. It's one of the coolest things I've ever done because you get to see the cars driving around.
Right.
And it's a week solid of 10,000 cars, everything from Model Ts to Ferraris. I mean, it's an awesome mix of stuff. And
I don't think a lot of people that don't know about Cruising the Coast, they just don't understand how big that is for the Southeast. And like you said, it's like a week-long festival of cars. It's not just a 2-day car show where everybody comes. I mean, it's a week-long party pretty much, and they come from everywhere for that thing.
Oh yeah, brother, it is awesome. I mean, we go back and forth pretty much. It's about an hour from New Orleans, so it's an easy trip, and you just never know what you're going to see. And they got drag races, car shows, auctions, burnout contests, you name it, and then just people lined up on the side of the street, so you can be in bumper to bumper traffic of just classic cars, and you're right there on the ocean. It's really nice. So that's a highlight. But then just locally, and especially doing the TV show, we really worked hard to unearth a lot of interesting stuff here locally. And so there was a ton of stuff that I'd never seen before around this area. And of course, Katrina really did a number on the classic cars and stuff that were down here. A lot of people lost a lot of stuff. I mean, I lost a lot of cars. And so I think there was kind of this interesting purge of stuff. But now what we see a lot at the shop is people moving here from other places that are buying classic cars or bringing them with them. And so there's been a new influx as well of stuff, which is really cool. The city's really growing a lot, and the economic base in the city is really increasing, which is, we all know cars are a habit that costs a lot of money for most of us. It's not necessarily a profit-centered thing, even though we're trying to do that. It's easy to spend way more than something's worth, making it how you want it.
Right.
We've all suffered from that affliction before, and still do. So it's there's lots going on down here, and I can't even keep up with it all now. I can't go to, again, when we were filming, we were going to a car show or an event pretty much every weekend to do reveals and, B-reel stuff and just all kind of things. So I got to go to more shows in 6 or 8 months than I'd been to in a long time. It really opened my eyes to just how much stuff is out there. And we were crawling around going to people's collections, private collections and stuff. So I saw a lot of things that I was pretty impressed with. And then, of course, the last 2 years, we've had the Hot Rod Power Tour. It always starts where it ends, right? Or ends where it starts or something like that. So right in Gonzales, about 45 minutes from here, the last 2 years in a row, we got lucky enough to have that whole shebang come through town. And, that's an incredible thing as well. Just as the people that get in their classic cars and their hot rods and drive, 1,000 miles over the course of that thing is great. And this year I was really looking forward to trying to drive a couple legs of it, but our filming schedule didn't allow it. We filmed at it. We did a car reveal down there, but we didn't actually get a chance to really keep going, which is unfortunate. But
it's fun. It's really fun. I've done several cruises and, with Good Guys and the different cruises that we've done. And you kind of just bond with people, and you just kind of hang out and travel with your cars. And you get kind of set in your, first day is all kind of nervous, but after a while, it's just this rolling cruise party. And usually it's timed just right. And you stop when you're tired and everybody just hangs out.
Yeah.
And it's a good time.
It is cool. What I love too is you had like the General Motors mobile medic unit and stuff. Yeah. Like they basically have, support for people whose cars break. We all know as good as you are as a mechanic, as much you put into your car, you got something that's crazy and out of out of the ordinary that you've put together, or something that's old, stuff breaks. And that's just the nature of the beast, and
a lot of those guys use that as their shakedown cruise too. Like, hey, we just finished it Tuesday. Let's go 4,000 miles,
I know.
see what
It's
falls
crazy.
off. That's a good way to do it, though. You'll know it's going to fall off.
I'm selling a car right now, and a guy called me from Idaho, and he said, okay, so could I fly down there and hop in that car and drive it back to Idaho? And it's a 58 Ford Fairlane Skyliner, retractable hardtop. It's a nice car, but I always ask people out of state that too, with the fantasy that I'm going to actually fly somewhere. I mean, geez,
and make it home in one piece, not on a rollback.
Idaho is a couple thousand miles. I'm like, it's a nice car, but I don't know if you're. I don't know if you want to take that on, so.
Try. Generally, I found once you get them out on the road, that's where they actually probably go 1,000 miles, and then you'll break down when you start stopping in a city. Like, usually when they're just.
I bought a crazy rat rod from a guy one time that was beautiful to look at, but he had just built it. It was in New Mexico, and he told me I could fly down there and drive this rat rod on the interstate back from New Mexico. And when I got the car, I got it shipped. I was like, I'm not going to try that. When I got it shipped, I mean, I wouldn't have made it. If I didn't die, I wouldn't have made it 50 miles before the thing started falling apart on me on the interstate. So people can be very unrealistic, that kind of stuff. But
a lot of faith in their fabrication skills on some of those cars.
But I'm building one right now that I plan to go coast to coast in. I'm definitely gonna make it from here to California in this car I'm building right now.
That's awesome. Well, let's talk about the TV show. How does one get found for a television show down in New Orleans, and were you approached, or how'd that all plan out?
Yeah. Oh man, I never would have in a million years thought that was something I would lobby for. I mean, we were lucky that a friend of mine who's a videographer made a really great video for us, and put it on our we put it on our website. It's just on YouTube. That really got us. Like, it's very professional. It looked really good. So if you Google, classic cars and hot rods in New Orleans, what's going to happen is, we come up first, and then
what's the name of your shop? So everybody knows what the name of your shop is.
The Bomb Factory.
The Bomb Factory.
So we come up first, and so we got good, search engine placement or whatever, and I think that makes a big difference. And so from there, a guy approached me and said, let me cut a tape, and I was like, sure, because we had gotten a lot of calls from different show concepts before that about us, and none of those ever really went anywhere. It's just all based on that video, and New Orleans being an interesting place. I think there's more reality shows filmed in Louisiana than a lot of other places, because we got Swamp People, and there's another one, Cajun Pawn Stars.
Right.
So there's a good number of different shows that are on and here, and people seem to like our culture a lot. So we cut a tape actually with this guy. He said, I know people at History Channel. I'll be able to, make something happen. And we went to we fixed up a car, and we took it to the Mecum auction in Houston. We shot some film there, and then I basically didn't think anything of it after that. And it was another solid year. Then actually we had a show called Fat and Furious from Discovery, filmed an episode at our shop, completely unrelated, but it gave us a taste of what car TV shows are like, and everybody liked it. We had a really good, positive experience with that show. And so then all of a sudden, another year. So a year went by from when we did that filming, and I wasn't thinking anything would happen. Then we got a call from a production company who found that guy's tape and basically had a connection to History Channel and said, we want to come down here and film for 2 weeks. We're going to give you some money to do a car, and, we're going to film that. That's going to be a pilot. And if that works out, then, who knows? So we did that filming, and that was awesome because we really did, in 2 weeks, we really did transform a car from a rust bucket into a radical street machine. And we took it to an auction, and everything. And so and the crazy thing, Brandon, is that, like, we literally had some miracles with that car. Like, we needed, it was over 4th of July holiday. We were filming. We needed quarter panels for it. And, they come truck freight. We couldn't get any fast enough. So we went to this old guy that basically is kind of a hoarder around town, and he's got all kind of cars just piled up, and he doesn't have a single new part. And we went there and we were buying some used A-body, Mopar A-body stuff because the car we were doing is a Dodge Demon. Mm-hmm. And I just happened to ask him, you don't have to have any quarter panels. He's like, oh, yeah, I got a set brand new in the box, $500. And literally he had
that wasn't set up. That actually happened.
It wasn't set up at all. And then we pulled the carpet up on that thing. We found a horseshoe under the carpet, just crazy stuff like that. So we got it done in the heat in July. We don't have a AC in the shop or anything. So it was a brutal experience, but we did a great job. It came out great, and they, History Channel bought the episodes from there, and then, the rest was history. We did 16 episodes, so it was a grind, but it all just came together. We got the opportunity, and we had the right combination of stuff, good characters, good style as far as what we do with cars, and really some great inspiring teamwork. I'm just, my team is an inspired group of folks that can go through that kind of stuff. So
now, was it hard for them to adjust working with cameras and people saying, I didn't catch that, maybe back up and try that part again? Or
Yeah. Everybody stepped into it pretty easily. Even the guys who said, oh, I don't even want anything to do with it. Part of it was the crew that we had was great. We became friends with the guys that were filming and producing, and so that made it more fun. And everybody just really looked at the opportunity, and I don't think there was any negativity, and we certainly didn't give them any interpersonal drama because we don't have drama in the shop. That's just not what we do.
You got to be careful with that, because I know the guys that did the Austin thing, they take 8 hours explaining a chop, and then they'd throw a wrench. They finally get to the frustrating point, and then they'd pop somebody or say something, and that's the only thing that made it to the TV. And so you got to be very careful what you give them, because they'll hone in on that stuff.
You talking about the Jesse James Austin?
Yeah, Yeah.
I'm friends with some of those guys. A couple guys from that show opened up a shop here in my neighborhood.
Oh, good.
Motorcycle exhaust stuff, but they did a lot of the metal work. They fabbed a bunch of pipes for us on our season, like gasser pipes and some side pipes for El Camino. And
they really tried to keep it very technical in the TV. They got their strict little format, like you guys don't. You're on auction flippers, but of course they make you take a car to the auction. And so they really tried to be technical. And so he said they'd burn through 8 hours of shop time doing technical stuff. And like I said, the last 10 minutes they'd have something goofy, and that's what made the cut. And it just frustrated those guys to no end.
Yeah, the guys that worked on that show definitely told me they worked insane hours, and then eventually Jesse James just said this isn't worth it, because he had big time customers paying hundreds of thousands of dollars who could see their cars in the background not getting work on.
You guys are too busy playing TV to work on my car. Yeah.
We had a similar situation too. We had a big dollar customer with a real big custom job, and they got very frustrated because we weren't able to touch their car during filming, and it definitely made the shop in a way where we weren't able to actually really do any business as a shop besides what we were doing for filming. And early on season one, they don't really compensate you super well, so it all worked out fine. There's a lot of benefits. My guys that worked in the shop were real happy because they were getting paid by the production company, and they were working 60-70 hours a week, so they were bringing home more than they ever had. And that part was good. It just, everybody got worn out, and man, the confusion. We're still sorting out stuff on cars that we have around there still, where we're like, how in the hell did that get on there? And it's just, you think you know what you're doing, but then when you're tired, sleep deprived, you're working on 3 things at a time, you're taking stuff, all kind of crazy things happen. So, we did a car that I own. I'm still sorting it out. I'm still finding stuff where I'm like, I know we're better than that. How the hell did that happen?
Gotta get it. Do they put pretty imposing deadlines on you guys, or make you have to, obviously they want an element of pressure to get things done, so they have action. But were they pretty good about that, or did they have to really squeeze you guys?
It was a little of both. I think it was constantly I think it was us saying why do we have to refilm this scene? We did it 4 times, and then saying, we got to get this done on a certain time. And at the end of the day, it worked out, but it was a lot of stress. What we were doing on our show concept too is a lot different than a lot of shows that you see, in that they really wanted that time pressure and the money pressure. They called it stakes, So, I mean, we didn't have, we did, and they wanted radical transformation. So we were taking stuff that really was quite rusty and turning it over in a very fast amount of time with a custom paint job, custom parts. We did engine builds on some cars. Some cars we just did a paint job. So the way we helped it is every one that took us a long time and was crazy. We had a couple where we just did a paint job and some parts finds and stuff. So we managed kind of a variety of stuff, but at the end of the day, everything had to come out the end of the hopper a different color and way more crazy looking than when it.
Everybody loves before and after. That's 80% of TV on all of those is before.
And we did.
Did you get to pick the subject matter? Or they say, hey, we want you to do this kind of car, or they make you, we want 2 old cars and a newer car, or whatever. I mean, did you get to say over what you fixed, or?
No, I told them I wouldn't do it unless I had creative control over the car builds because I didn't have any interest in. If somebody else had come in there and told me how to make a car or what car to make, I would have slammed the door immediately. It was all an opportunity for me to really have something I've never had, which is the ability to build stuff that I dream up in my imagination and stuff. So we and my guys pitched in on some of that stuff, but there was no. We just pitched everything, and the network had to approve it. And I pitched, of everything we pitched, the only thing they came back and said you can't do is a T-bucket. They said, we don't think that's interesting enough, which I don't know. Call me crazy, but T-buckets are a amazing opportunity for expression in the automotive.
Oh, yeah.
There's so many things you can do with them, but for whatever reason, that was the only one. Well, the Ed Roth trike, they tried to say no, and I told them then I'll find somebody else to do a show because if I have a chance to redo a real Ed Roth trike, I'm going to do it. And that was an amazing experience too because that trike had flooded in Katrina. And as I pieced together the history of it and everything, I found out it was shipped here on a rail car from California in 1969 or 70, and that the guy who had originally owned it ended up showing up at the shop, and he had lost that Providence had lost connection. And then I was able to get Ed Roth's son, Skip, who does the, Little Daddy Roth Metal Flake company. I was able to hook up with him. He was coming through town and he authenticated it, and we hung out with him. And, for me to be able to have a Roth piece that I touched in our shop and have his son become friends with him was all I needed, man. That's
pretty cool. That's a big trophy fish for a shop, to have something of history like that. And so that guy had ordered it new and they sent it out in 69. Like he had ordered it for Roth built it for him and sent it out.
Yeah. The story with those things was that particular bike we did was called a Cobra trike because it had a 289 motor, V8 motor in it. And trikes were big, as you know, like in the late 60s and early 70s. So Ed Roth first started building those things. He made the body, and this guy named Dick Allen, who was an old, drag racer guy, crazy California, motorhead guy. He was building the frames for him. They were kind of collaborating, and right out of the gate, a couple people died on him, and then in Maywood, which is the town that Roth lived in, the one of the cops in that town, his son died on one, and that was it. As soon as that happened, Roth kept making the bodies, but he divested himself from assembling any of them, so he wouldn't have any responsibility. And soon after that, he started making Volkswagen Beetle powered trikes and stuff that were not as lethal, so to speak. And so it was a quick moment in time. They may have made 25 of these things, and you could order them out of a magazine, and you could order it. Again, you could order just the body, or you could order the body and then the frame is a kit that you had to weld together. And so various shops out there. I mean, I did a lot of research. I actually bought a bunch of old chopper magazines and followed a trail of folks that called around and talked to some folks that knew of those things, and didn't nail down the provenance of that particular vehicle. But then when Skip came to the shop, he definitely, he was like, this is where I flame cut the frame on this thing. I used to make my allowance sanding sanding these things. He was like, "This is definitely one of ours." He showed us a lot of things. The other thing about it was we from pictures we could tell that the one we had been modified a little bit, and in the research I did, a lot of them people would just add on to them or do different stuff. So they all ended up looking a little different. And
Right.
we dug into ours and found that the wheel wells had been added, and we pulled those, we radiused those back out, we basically put Goodyear Can-Am vintage race car tires on there, which is what people were putting on them back in the day. And it took me forever to find those tires.
I was going to say, those are hard to come by these days, man. They're just not out there, but they were super popular, super wide at the time. I mean, that was as exotic tires you could get.
No, they remake them now, but you just have to know where to look. They're not a common thing. It was very difficult for me to find, but I was super excited to get them. And then my painter did just this insane metal flake, paint, candy metal flake paint job on the thing. It took him, he easily had 200 hours, 300 hours in it. There's no doubt it was his project. So that was a highlight for us for sure, to be able to do that vehicle. And it's still in town, but afterwards, a guy had saw it and he was the one that ordered it, at least according to him. So he came by the shop and we got to talk to him, and he said,
That's kind of cool. That's kind of cool. You always look at weird stuff and like, man, where did this thing come from originally? In old cars that are fixed up. Like, who was the guy it's always neat to connect those back together.
Well, a trike like that too, you're like, okay, these things are mostly in California. How the hell did it make it?
How did it survive for so long down there too? Was it in storage or something put in a barn?
Because it's deadly. It scares me. I've ridden it a little, but it's terrifying, honestly. It's not very stable. Apparently, Rolf changed the rake of the front end a little bit over time to make it a little safer, and ours didn't have that luxury. So it's definitely a real a real challenge.
A little short trip bar hopper.
Yeah, pretty much. But at any rate, that was really cool. And other than that, I mean, got to drive a lot of stuff that I'd never driven before, Copo Camaro, Lamborghini, stuff like that. I got to we have a full 2.7 mile, big multi-million-dollar speedway racetrack up here, road course. So I got to do some driving in a driving school on that, on film, stuff that I've always wanted to do. So that part was really cool.
I can't imagine like the classifieds after Katrina left, just cars that are just people just giving this beyond their control or beyond their capacity to restore, just flood damage, classic cars, hot rods, whatever. I mean, just that had to have been crazy down there after that.
We had 13 cars. The shop wasn't a shop at the time. It was a building that I owned, and we all had cars in there. And yeah, I kept my motorcycle, and everything else I sent off I had agreed upon classic car insurance, and I just sent it back because at the end of the day, like, it was just too much of a mess. I'd rather have the insurance money. I'm sure a lot of people did that. There's still cars around that are sitting there that, had been flooded, that just, it takes a lot, And we looked at one on the show. My friend's 428 Cobra Jet Mach 1, 69 Mach 1. Thing was completely underwater. The 4-speed, Cobra Jet car, numbers matching, everything. And, to redo that car would cost almost exactly what it costs on the market now. So it's kind of a wash, and there's a lot of those kind of situations. And he is lucky. I mean, that's a low six figure car.
Right.
But if you've got a 72 Chevelle, whatever, something that's worth 10 or 12 grand, and it went completely underwater, it's going to cost you. You could go take that money and buy another Chevelle before you could.
Right.
So you know how it goes.
Just write it off, man. Write it off.
Pretty much.
That's just crazy. Oh, man. Well, the shop's doing good. I guess after the TV show stopped, you guys were kind of busy with the hype, and you said everything's kind of just getting back to normal now. And
yeah, definitely. We
decompressing from the rigors of the shooting schedule.
Definitely. It's been now, we stopped filming in August, so it's been a good 7 months or so. We all had to take a month off afterwards, and then from there we just picked up the pieces of all the stuff we had left to do. We kind of settled into a nice rhythm now. I don't think we're filming another season of that show, although they said they're going to re-air it. And we have some episodes that never aired too, that the one I'm most proud of, besides the trike, hasn't aired yet. It's aired internationally, but not in the U.S. So they told me they're going to rerun the season this summer, but I don't know if that's true or not. And if it is, hopefully everybody will get to see that car, which is a really, really cool 70 CUDA that we recreated. There was an ad in 1969 in Hot Rod Magazine for the rapid transit system, and they had an artist rendering of a CUDA with one stripe of every color you could get.
Right.
And we built that car. We actually built it with the Wellborn Muscle Car Museum. Tim Wellborn found a really nice straight 70 CUDA, and we laid down one stripe of every color on half of it, and we put a big old drag radial, pie crust, radial on one side, or it wasn't even a radial, but a drag tire, and the other side was stock. We left it like half and half to show that in 1970 you could get a grandma grocery getter, Pete Moss cream metallic car with a vinyl roof, or you could get, a crazy drag car. We put half a roll bar in it. So we split it down the middle and put crazy, we recreated the picture. And I woke up in the middle of the night, one night, couldn't sleep, and was just playing around on my phone and saw that car. And I said, we got to build that. And so we actually made it happen for the season, but it just, for whatever reason, they didn't air our last 2 episodes. And even though we were doing good in our ratings, I don't exactly know. The network never really lets you know what the hell's going on.
Right.
But at any rate, the car exists. We took it to the Muscle Car Corvette Nationals in Chicago back in November, and got to hang out there and display it. And it was great to see people's reaction to it. It's a very unique, special, cool car. We got it in Hot Rod Magazine and a couple other media outlets with it, So it was really cool to be able to be associated with that. We got it in Muscle Car Review. We got Mopar Collector's Guide. So some really good publicity. And ironically, the episode didn't even air. People can't see us building it, but we did it.
I bet that was a lot of work to tape that thing up and spray each individual color one after a mix and spray and tape and mix and spray and tape.
It was a lot. My painters did a great job. And what we did was we actually had, because the car was so nice we had a guy come and wrap half of it with a white vinyl wrap, and then we painted over the wrap so that if you ever wanted to take the car back to being an all green car, you could just peel it off. Because that car we started with was one of the nicest, straightest cars I've ever seen. It was basically an over restored, F5 green 70 CUDA with a 4-speed in it. It was a 383 car. Didn't have a shaker, but we put a shaker on it for the thing to recreate the ad. So it's a cool car, and really straight, really nice. One of the tightest old cars I've ever driven, honestly, before we put made it lopsided with one drag tire. But
it cuts good donuts. It just hooks and goes in a circle.
No, there was barely any clearance in the wheel well. It barely drove, but we put individually controlled air shocks on it. And of course, Mopars have torsion bars. So we crank one torsion bar, way down on one side to even it out. So you can't really tell that it has different size tires on it side to side, but it does. So it's a pretty neat piece. You can find it on the internet if you just Google,
Maybe we'll include a picture with the podcast.
Absolutely. I got many, many pictures of that car.
That's awesome. You guys working on anything cool right now?
Yeah, we are. We're working on some pretty interesting stuff. Let's see, what do we have that's really kind of excites me. We got a big pop of like pretty straight late 40s and early 50s cars right now. So we got like a 49 Pontiac, a 51 Studebaker, stuff that's not been hot rodded. They're pretty standard. I just pulled in a really cool 72 Land Rover Series 388 lightweight, which is an aluminum Land Rover kind of Jeep that they use parachute out of airplanes. And that car I just picked up and I'm going to sell it, but they're very rare. I didn't realize how rare it was until I started doing the research. So that thing's pretty cool. We've got a 58 DeSoto, 2-door, Fire Dome that has a 6.1 Hemi in it. That is, a car that I've always wanted. And then we're building a 67 GTX 444 speed that, is a lot like the car I lost in Katrina, which was a 4-speed satellite. I think you saw that car. I was hanging out with you and I just bought it when we went over to Bakersfield. So I lost that car in Katrina, but so I've got that back. But those are both cars we'll probably sell once we get done with them. And God knows how long it'll take us. Now that we had to rush stuff so fast for filming. We're kind of dedicated to taking our time a little bit more now. So
we're gonna slow down. I don't know, kind of probably get you into a little bit faster tempo.
Yeah, we're slower than we ever were, just because I think out of reaction to having to go so fast during filming. You know, we all saw the mistakes that even the best people are going to make under that kind of pressure. But everything came out great, and we really did all the work. That's what I'm most proud of. Is there wasn't a garage full of gnomes that were doing the work while we were acting. We were really in the thick of it, doing everything while they were filming us, and everything that we rolled out of there worked and ran as we needed it when we got there. Not to say there weren't a lot of frustrating moments and my truck catching on fire, it's all kind of fun stuff like that. But that's the thing we told them. They kept saying, well, you got to build in technical challenges into every build. And I was like, you don't have to script that stuff.
No, they'll pop up. You just hang out.
Just hang around and it'll happen, especially with the pressure you put us under. So we had some good – we didn't have to make up really any of the problems that we ran into. They manifested themselves.
That's good, because some of those shops when you watch that stuff, you're like, man, if you know what you're looking at, you're like, that ain't right, dude.
Yeah. I mean, it is TV, so there's obviously some magic going on, but we didn't wrap a car with a wrap that looked like rust and then pull that off. we slung some mud on some stuff. We may have slit a seat with a knife here and there, but for the most part, it's all real, man. What when you saw a rusty car like my Fury going in, and then when you saw it coming out, we really did all that to the car.
That's awesome.
That one we unveiled at the Power Tour, and I mean, we worked literally all night for 2 days in a row just to get it to be able to roll out at the Power Tour and under its own power and work, and that was major because we put a 6.1 Hemi and a T56 Magnum in it, and a prototype front and rear suspension. I mean, that car was all custom stuff, and it was crazy ambitious to try and do that timeline.
You don't know unless you try, though.
Yep, exactly.
That's awesome. Speaking of Bakersfield, whatever happened to Dr. Wheelie?
Yeah, well, he's still around.
I'm going to tell you, you will always be Dr. Wheelie to us and the kids and everything. Like, Dr. Wheelie.
Oh, man. I have fond memories of that. I tell my guys, too, that was one of the best car events I've ever been to. So much fun out there. So great.
For those guys that don't know, when I first met Dr. Wheelie, he was doing artwork, and some of the stuff he was doing was pretty awesome. He was taking some porn stuff and substituting pieces with Top Fuel cars and blowers and supercharged, and I just got such a kick out of that.
That was a thing. We did T-shirts together, and I was making those glasses and everything. I mean, that stuff was really fun, and that's where we met Brett Barris, George Barris' son, and didn't even know who he was, and I ended up selling a lot of that stuff out of his shop out of Barris Custom City in Hollywood and becoming friends with him. So, I mean, that was really awesome. Between hanging out with George Barris' son and becoming friends with him, and hanging out with Ed Roth's son and becoming friends with him, I don't need to do anything else, honestly. I mean, those are my automotive heroes, really. So the fact that I could connect to them in the way that I did over the last decade or so was just, I feel pretty fulfilled at this point. I don't need to do much else right now. I'm concentrating on, actually having a couple of my own cars that I can find time to work on and own, and buy and sell a few cars, and do some work for people at the shop. But we don't have any ambitions to try and take over the world. I like to be kind of a small, low key shop, and with filming, we're probably not going to do any more episodes of Big Easy Motors just because the pressure and the finances and time to be able to make 2 seasons a year of that would turn us all to dust. I mean, there's just no way, and I'm not going to do it where I just show up and act like my shop did a car. We're not going to do that, so we probably won't do it anymore. But who knows if we don't come up with another concept someday. I mean, we've got a pretty darn good resume, but I think with TV cars, it's really neat, and a couple guys can make it to the big time with that and really ride it. But it's still a long shot, even once you get on TV, to be able to be a top rated car show and everything. I think it's amazing. I feel really lucky to even be able to make it from making a couple tapes to 16 episodes on History Channel.
That's a pretty good run.
Man, oh man, I feel like that whole thing we did was a success. We had really good ratings, and we really did some really nice builds, and it was awesome. And I don't know that I necessarily need to be doing it my whole life,
Well, the flip side of that is you got into doing the shop because you love the shop, and then you get the TV show, and then as you found out as you get into it, you really can't do both. You got to be dedicated to doing TV show, or which kind of is cool, like you said, but then you start putting your customers on hold, and so when the show's over, then you go back to being a shop.
Yeah.
And, to have done that, I think is pretty cool. But you like building stuff first and foremost.
I'll take it either way. If we had gotten another season, I'm sure I would have been all about it. I would have been excited about it, and and then I would have done it most likely. And I don't have any bitterness about not getting another because how much work it really was. So it's I feel like I can't lose either way. And again, I don't know what'll happen moving forward for us, but we may try our own concept someday, or somebody may. Right now we've got a non-compete, so we can't really do anything else. And if I do,
now, does that include like web shows too? Because I know a lot of people are doing a lot of stuff just on web.
I don't know. I never asked because I'm just not. That's the thing is, if under my own devices, I never would have said, "Oh, let's go put together. Let's start filming stuff." Even afterwards, we thought about it. Well, should we start making little funny videos for YouTube and stuff? And I mean, honestly, man, I don't have the time. It's
a lot of work. It's a lot of work.
I'm not a filmmaker, and I'm not somebody who is really into over the top PR and hype and stuff about myself and my shop. To be honest, it's just not who I am. We're a little more low key and a little more organic, So, it's just that's the thing. So we don't have a bunch of TV makers just hanging around.
It's a shop, not a production studio.
No cars, but and it was cool talking to. I'm pretty tight with the couple of the guys that worked on that Jesse James Austin show, and they share their experiences. We share our experiences, and I think we all agree that it's just not it's just not the kind of thing that is for everybody, and it's super exciting, but it can also be a grind. And again, if I had a chance to make millions of dollars being a TV car builder, you betcha I would definitely not be saying no, but I don't have the burning desire to do whatever it takes to do that. And I feel like I'm a big believer, just like the universe tends to hand you opportunities at the times you need them. And so I'm just going to go about my business. Maybe we'll get some more stuff going on. Maybe not. I don't really know. But right now I got cars to build. That's it.
That is awesome, man. And I do appreciate you taking time to talk to us and hang out.
Definitely. It's always a pleasure. We hadn't seen each other in person in quite some time. So hopefully that'll change sometime soon and come on down here, and we got some cars for you to photograph, or maybe I'll see you cruising the coast. But look forward to seeing you in person again soon.
Yes, sir. I'll blast down there and eat me some gumbo.
There you go. Got plenty.
All right. Well, we do appreciate it. Again, that's Charles Handler, Bomb Factory Garage, Big Easy Motors, all that fun stuff. International TV star, all-around car guy, and artist at large.
Cool. Thank you, man. I appreciate your time.
Thank you for listening to Fuel Curve. Be sure to check us out on Facebook and Instagram.